basketball at Mackey Arena with 3 games coming up, all of them Big Ten games, as the Boilermakers get ready to take on a couple of opponents on both the men's and women's side, getting ready for not only Big Ten play but the rest of the regular season, as we're into full swing now in December, as both basketball teams are in action. The Boilermaker men are 7-1 right now. Purdue with wins last week over North Carolina State and Mississippi in the Rady Children's Invitational. Purdue 7-1, ranked number 8 in the AP poll this week and number 7 in the coaches poll. The Boilermakers will be playing at Penn State to open the Big Ten season on Thursday night. That'll be a 6:30 tip. And then at noon on Sunday, the Maryland Terrapins come to Mackey Arena. Maryland comes in with a 7-1 record, and they will take on the Boilermakers at Mackey. We'll be talking with Matt Painter a little bit later on. Also, Katie Geralds will be here. Katie and the Boilermakers are at 4-3 after losing to Middle Tennessee State and South Carolina down in the Elevance Health Fort Myers tip-off in Florida. Purdue will be hosting Maine on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, and then they open Big Ten play against the Maryland Terrapins, ranked number 7 in the country. That'll be a 2 o'clock Saturday tip. So a lot of basketball coming up at Mackey. 3 games on the home court this week, and again, Big Ten play starts for both the men and the women. Tim Newton with you tonight. Again, we've got Matt Painter coming up next. Katie Geralds will join us in the second half hour of the show. You can follow along tonight on the Purdue Athletics site on Facebook, X, and YouTube. And we will have Coach Painter with us next. This is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Jacobson talked about it in the pregame show. Guarding the ball. What a start. Colvin, look at him.
In his great career, the preseason Big Ten Player of the Year. Colvin now for 3.
What a start to his game.
Trey Kaufman-Renn coming off a 22-point game. He is doubled.
What a step through there. Just blew up the double team. Got a wide open.
Lawyer. Open look for 3 up top.
And Ole Miss got caught right.
But here is how you answer. But first, the preseason makes a lot of sense. He said, I don't have a 12-point play. Kaufman-Renn at the foul line. Got some options. He'll take it for now. Into traffic and off the.
But he's coming alive with that jumper. Good cut.
It was Colvin and Murray, a lot of dribbling. Finds a crease and that was blocked by Heidi. The save.
I think that's still on its way up, in my opinion. That is, he almost hits his head on the rim.
And Smith found his man just a ton.
Up to his season average at 9 assists now here tonight. Looks like he's going to float it up, but he is always looking for his teammates. That's high-level stuff.
6 with 5. Fadeaway jumper, short. Colvin, wow. It counts.
And making it tough on Braden Smith, but 0 block out. Miles Colvin just leaking in. That thing misses, barely grazes iron, and Colvin right place, right time. There you get Padula watching. No block out whatsoever, but Miles Colvin is not making a play like that last year.
Bumping that fist.
Welcome back to Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO. We're live at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of Purdue Basketball Live and proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors, Boiler Up, joined by Matt Painter. And Matt, another successful Thanksgiving week tournament. Several years in a row now, you've come away with wins in those. Your overall impressions on how the team played out in San Diego?
Well, I thought we played well. Obviously, we were playing NC State, who we had played in the Final Four. And then after going back and watching that game, that was kind of a tough game. Even though we won the game, we didn't play well. In that Final Four game, we were very fortunate to still win. So they had a lot of changes. Obviously, we've had some changes too, but they had a lot more changes of being in the portal and having new guys and kind of blending things in. But they're still a very good defensive team. They were forcing 18 turnovers. I think we only had 6 turnovers in the game, and that was probably the difference. Like you see the one game that we have lost, with the 15 turnovers against Marquette. So we've had to go against that style of play in terms of, highly athletic, pressing, pressuring, switching, just different with Alabama, then Marquette, and then obviously NC State, and then to be able to get the win against Ole Miss, who was a very, very good team. We did some really good things in the first half. We should have been in a better situation at halftime. We knew they were going to make a run, and they made a huge run and had us on our heels a couple times, but our guys hung in there, and we really played well at the last 5 minutes of the game and made some key plays and had some guys really step up and do some good things on both ends.
You can see the difference in philosophy, Matt, and we know that you're kind of that salmon that swims upstream in the college basketball world, and that you don't use the portal very often. You use it to plug a hole here and there. You mentioned you went to the Final Four last year. North Carolina State goes to the Final Four, and I think they had, 4 guys back from last year's team. So it's certainly a different style or a different team. Did they play the same style, do you think, or did they change their style from last year?
No, it was the same style. And, defensively, they really cause havoc and make it difficult for you with the way they switch and the way they take things away. But I thought our guys did a good job adjusting. But it also really helped that we had played those other games, that we had played Alabama, that we had played Marquette. I thought it was good for us to be able to have the Marshall game at home in between there. And I think that really helped us. But no, they're tough to go against, and Ole Miss is tough to go against. And with that being said, BYU could have been the best team in the tourney, and then they get beat by Ole Miss. But they were, they have a kid that's probably going to be a lottery pick. They have a couple other guys that have a chance to be NBA players, but they're very, very talented. They're older, and they have good international players, and they have some good, players from the United States also. But BYU's got a chance to be special. So it was a really good tournament for us, and very fortunate to get 2 wins.
Trey Kaufman-Renn was named Big Ten Player of the Week for his efforts last week, averaging 41 points, I think, and 20-some rebounds in those 2 games. But you made a particular point, I know, after the North Carolina State game, of talking about Braden Smith and talking about how well he ran the offense. Even though his numbers weren't off the charts, he had 11 points and 6 assists, but he really controlled the tempo of the game.
Yeah, a lot of times guys that are high assist guys like he is, they want that direct pass that leads to that goal, and that happens a lot. But sometimes when people are trying to take the ball out of your hands, like NC State was doing, you got to get it out of your hands. Then you normally get that hockey assist, which in the box scores there's no credit, but analytically there's a lot of credit. But I thought he was very unselfish of just getting the ball out of his hands, and I thought in the Marquette game, he maybe tried to do a little bit too much at times, and we ask a lot of him, and we want him to be confident, and we want him to shoot the basketball and run the team. But when people are blitzing his ball screens or trapping his ball screens, he's got to get that out of there, because having to deal with that and step through traps, it gets really hard at that point. So I thought he did a great job for us in both the games.
You mentioned the Mississippi game. You had a 17-point lead in the first half, then they came back and take a 7-point lead. You got it down, tie game, last possession. Walk through what the design of the play was. What did you want to have happen there?
Well, we messed up a little bit. We wanted to get out of the ball screen, but we wanted to get out of it early because they were going to switch it. So we wanted to get them in between. So when we get them in between, we're just going to slip out of it, and then we just, all the times that Trey Kaufman-Renn was getting the ball at the nail. And so we told Braden to really drive it, try to get him in between. If he can't get that basketball to him, we're going to clear that whole side for him to shoot that pull-up. But we were trying to get Trey on the run right there and get them in between and get them to overdo some things, because we had a lot of success with it. But it's a little dicey. Like a lot of people think you can just draw up anything. You don't want to take the ball out of Braden's hands unless you're going to put somebody in a scoring position. You take it out of his hands and then someone's not in a scoring position. Like, how many times have we seen that? Well, they don't get a shot, they get a bad shot. And that's the worst possible thing that you can do in that situation, is not get a shot, because a lot of times how you score in those situations is on the glass. And how many times has that happened for you, and also happened against you, where that rebound right there. And I told our guys, we have no safeties. Don't worry about it. We're going to shoot it where if it goes in, great. If it doesn't, we got a chance to rebound and put it back in, but we're not going to give them enough time to be able to go to the other end and get a quality shot. And that's exactly what happened, and Miles was on it and got the rebound and stuck it in.
Well, and you've been talking all along, Miles Colvin, we know he can come in and be a scorer, but in order for him to be as effective as he can be, he's got to be a good defender and a good rebounder. And there was a prime example. He's in the right spot at the right time to win you a basketball game.
Yeah, and this has really started about 5 games, ago for him, where he's really done a good job defensively, and he's getting better each game with it. And that's what he needs to do. He needs to rebound for us, and he needs to defend for us. And now when he's out on the court, he's playing with the best point guard in the country. He's such a good, he's such a good athlete in the open court. He's a really good jump shooter, and so like now just being out there, he's going to be able to to get some action there. And obviously he did a great job for us, especially going down the stretch. He made some huge plays on both ends and ends up with 20 points. And just proud of him and his development and his improvement.
All right, we're talking with Matt Painter. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. This is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
And the paint, and now the bounce. Yeah, Kaufman-Renn.
Well, it's all about patience.
To NC State during the NCAA tournament run last year. Smith up top for three. Boy, what is Huntley Hatfield. Now pass. Lost it. Here comes Smith. The lob. Oh, my! Some early.
Well, Purdue getting out and running themselves. We talked about how NC State's so effective in the fast break situations this year.
Wolfpack having scored in more than 2 minutes. And a turnover. Active hands. Sitting up Heidi. Corner three.
The space that Braden Smith has to the baseline side, and then with that step back, he's creating that space.
Smith against Taylor.
Look at the way Taylor just getting over that ball screen, making sure there's no help, doing his job.
One-on-one here, Kaufman-Renn against Jakari Harris to Heidi. He'll pop for three.
They're picking on to go from three, but he finally gets it at the rim. Purdue living on the offensive glass like the old days, and a little look what I found here for Jakari Harris at the basket.
Purdue is now plus 11 in rebounds today, and something that Matt Painter has mentioned many times this young season, rebounding, and that time love the effort. What a late find to Kaufman-Renn.
That is such a good pass on a day where he's made. He is always searching for an open man, even when it looks like he's letting it fly. You got the big fella coming out to contest, and he just snakes this pick and roll. Middlebrooks goes up. O'Connell's in no man's land.
Kaufman-Renn, give and go to Heidi.
Well, it's simple basketball. You give it up, you cut to the rim. From Purdue, you've got Heidi here. He's giving it up, and then it's just a straight cut to the rim.
We're live at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. Purdue Basketball is brought to you in part by Purdue Federal Credit Union, the official credit union for Purdue fans. Matt, I mentioned in the last section that Trey Kaufman-Renn was named the Big Ten Player of the Week. He was also the tournament MVP, and he's a guy that has waited his turn in the wings. It's his turn now to be in the spotlight, and I think he has shown his versatility. And I think the thing that is getting better and better is his passing ability and his ability to pass out of double teams and find open players.
Yeah, and that's really helped us, obviously, as a kind of an undersized five, and that's kind of what we've transitioned to here. His ability to pass is what makes it work, and because now when he gets in the middle of the floor, he can take people one-on-one, but if they overload it right there, now he can make that pass and make that read. And he's done a really good job, with that. And when you can feel comfortable with your point guard having the ball and making decisions, and you can feel comfortable, with your center making decisions, now it just kind of, you want to put some skill in there with them to be able to shoot threes and the space out. And that's what it comes down to is the spacing of everything, is how they're going to handle ball screens, how they're going to handle, are they going to blitz ball screens? Are they going to trap ball screens? Are they going to switch them? Are they going to play in a drop? And then we just got to be able to navigate it from there. But having somebody like him to be able to make those decisions and make those plays really helps.
He's also a guy that shows that you really need to do your homework on the front end in recruiting, because here's a kid that could have played a lot more minutes somewhere else in his first 2 years and been the star player, and a lot of guys in his situation wouldn't have waited till that third year to get in the spotlight.
Yeah, no question. And that's hard. That's really hampered, Zach Edey's emergence hampered a lot of people, and it was a positive for Purdue, but like individually, now you're like, I don't get these minutes. I don't, even when I do get minutes, I don't get the ball. And those guys are, pretty intelligent, and they understand the score, and they understood how good Zach was. But I remember Trey saying, like, hey, I can do this one more year if he comes back. I can't do it 2 more years.
Yeah.
And so it's totally understandable. Like, you want to get a great education, you want to win, but you still want to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
And like, I always say that, like, you shouldn't be selfish, but you should have a selfish bone to you sometimes, just to be like, I want to be needed here. And I always tell them, like, going somewhere for minutes and not winning, because I always say there's winning and there's misery.
Right.
There's nothing in between. And you got to keep that really in check, and he's done that. Now he still gets his degree from Purdue. Now he's an all-conference, caliber player. He's got a chance to be a pro. He's put himself in a really good position, but he's worked extremely hard. In the off season, he puts in a lot of time, like most of our guys do, and you can see the hard work paying off.
Well, the ability to move Trey to that 5 position is really dependent on you getting production out of the 4 spot. You've gone with a little smaller lineup. Camden Heide getting back in the starting lineup. With he and Miles Colvin, what do they bring you that maybe you didn't have with your other lineup to start the year?
Well, obviously we started the season, and Trey was playing the 4. Daniel started the first game, even though it was kind of back and forth. No one had really separated themselves at times, so trying to figure out what the best lineup was. And then when obviously he got hurt, we were able to finish some games that way. We didn't start some games beginning of the season that way, to where he was out there. Cam was out there at the 4, Trey was out there at the 5, and then when we made the change to do that, it just made sense because of all the minutes that they were getting. Miles really fought hard and got himself in there, but after we started playing games, that's when he kind of picked it up from a defensive standpoint. They allow us to switch. You saw in the Ole Miss game, we ended up having to switch. Their big guys made some threes, so Trey can switch and guard on the perimeter. Obviously Cam can guard a lot of different people. Miles has been the guy that's really guarded the best player in the other team. So, just that, ability to defend different guys and be able to switch with a lot of different guys. And then we were able to out-rebound Ole Miss by 11. And that's been a little bit of an Achilles for us. And when you go smaller, you got to be able to rebound big. And we were playing bigger, and we didn't have an advantage on the glass. So, what's the purpose if you don't have that advantage on the glass?
You talked about Mississippi starting to hit some outside shots. I don't know if I've ever seen a heater like that early in the second half. What were they, like 13 of 14 or something like that at one stretch?
Yeah, and then when you're watching, they're at the other end, and you're just like, you got to get up there, you got to do this, you got to do that. Then you go back and watch film, and about half of those are really contested shots, and our guys did a pretty good job defending them. We had some obvious breakdowns, but they made some really tough shots, and so in that case, you got to hang in there, and you just got to keep trying to do your job and making it difficult and trying to keep them out of the paint.
We're about 20 minutes into the show. We still haven't talked about Fletcher Lawyer, and I still think he's that silent assassin that probably doesn't get the credit he deserves for what he's able to do offensively, and his defense is getting better the longer he's been here.
Yeah, no, he's a very intelligent player, very tough player. Can take charges, will get on the floor for loose balls, and just does a lot of things for us. Has done a really good job of leading here with a pretty young team. But no, he's shooting over 55% from 3. Will step up and make shots, and wants those shots, but just knows how to play and is about winning and does a lot of little things for us.
I doubt that you have a lot of chance to do sightseeing when you're out in San Diego. Did any of the guys get out and see anything while you were there other than the basketball court?
Yeah, not really. Not really. You kind of get locked into the games and get ready to go.
That's what you're out there for. It's a business trip.
There you go.
All right, we've got a couple of games to talk about this week. We'll have that in a couple of minutes. It is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Alley-oop to Miles Colvin. Back-to-back.
Oh,
look
good
to
pass.
respond.
One more. There you go.
Heide for 3.
Good. So much space in the middle of the floor.
There's the kick to Colvin. Up and good. Back-to-back.
Of the clearing the space. Oh, for sure. But now if the dude is all in your grill, you got to give a guy space.
Heide on fire.
We're going to miss him inside these next few minutes. Going to see how long coach decides to leave him on the bench. Oh, good pass.
Finish at the rim for the Boiler. Trap kicks the ball back out. Kaufman-Wren wants the ball in the
Good
post.
pass.
What a pass! And the finish. Braden Smith.
Good pass.
One more time, Trey Kaufman-Wren. Marshall looking to make some changes here. Braden Smith picks his pocket. Smith with the pass. Harris with the finish and the foul. He'll go to the line.
And then does a great job in the open court. Loses the ball just a little bit and then finds Jakari Harris right at the basket. Braden Smith is one of the best passers we've seen in college basketball.
Keep doubting me. I'm going to show you.
He unfollowed me on Twitter because he thought I was doubting him.
Get out of here. Colvin spots up. Cash money. Boilermakers continue playing the best teams in the country as they look to repeat here as Berg backing down and finishes with the hook. Drop.
Good team, Will Berg.
Stuffed by Willie Berg at the net. Standing on business in the post.
And Craig, you asked, how can these guys separate themselves? How can one guy knock it down?
Raleigh not able to finish on that one. Berg gets the rebound.
Welcome back to Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO. We're live at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. The 2024-25 Purdue basketball season is presented by Purdue Global. Earn a degree you'll be proud of with Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults and the preferred online university degree provider of the Guild and Team USA Learning Network. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu. We'll have a show here next Monday night at 6:30, another Purdue Basketball Live, and then that'll be the final show for 2024. We'll rejoin those in January. We will have a Purdue Football Live show coming up here as soon as we have a new football coach. So whether that's next week, the week after, and then whenever that coach is available, we'll have a show here. So stay tuned, and we'll have a Purdue Football Live show coming up. All right, 2 games coming up this week, and they're both Big Ten games. And this is something you've all had to learn to live with, where you play the non-conference and you get a couple of conference games mixed in. Does that make it any more difficult to play these games in December rather than where you would typically play them in January?
Yeah, not really. I think it was just so different once, when it first started. And coaches are so used to playing non-conference, finishing non-conference, and then start their conference. But when you have 20 games, it's you have to. There's just no other slots to be able to play games. But you learn to focus, especially on the road. And I think we've been to Creighton, we've been to Marquette, lost both games. Have to be able to understand and have a maturity about yourself, knowing Penn State's got a really good team. They're going to be excited to play, but we haven't got a road win yet. We've had some success here, but we haven't been able to complete that task, and it's going to be a challenge for it. But we're trying to do something special. We're trying to win 3 Big Ten championships in a row, which is going to be very difficult. But you got to take care of home court, but you got to win some road games, man. You got to be able to, at the worst, split. But last year we were 17-3, and we won by 3 games. The year before, I think we were 15-5, and we still won by 3 games. So you just don't know what it's going to take, right, at that thing. But you don't want to risk anything. You just want to try to win them all. All
right, let's talk Penn State. 7-1 coming in. 5 players averaging in double figures. They're averaging 91 points a game, 52% from the field, and Ace Baldwin almost 15 points and better than 8 assists per game.
Great player, man. Been the defensive player of the year in 2 different leagues. Came with his coach from VCU, Mike Rhodes, and so they very familiar. Nick Kern also, who's their 6th man who has starter minutes. Both came from there, but they have a good team. They've added a big kid from Northern Illinois that looks really good. He had a great game against Buffalo other night. That causes a lot of problems with the shot blocking, and they throw him a lot of lob dunks, and he had 7 dunks other night in the game and had 27 points. But they have a good crew. And they press you, they come after you. So hopefully through the experiences, Coach was one of Shaka's assistants at VCU at one time, was the head coach at VCU, been the head coach I think at Rice before VCU. So we've done that. We've played. Northern Kentucky is one of Shaka Smart's assistants too, Darren Horn. So we have some being familiar with kind of that system and how they play and how they do things. And we've had some success against it, but we've also had some struggles against it. So we got to take care of the basketball more than anything, and that's what Ace Baldwin does the best. Led the Big Ten in steals last year, Defensive Player of the Year. But he's not the only one. They have a lot of guards and just a lot of good players overall with a lot of experience. It's like we're kind of seeing in the last COVID year, right? You're seeing that 4th, 5th, 6th-year guys, and they have a lot of experience.
That's a 6:30 tip, so Bob and Bobby Riddell and Rob Blackman will have the call on that at 5:30. And then on Sunday, you've got a noon tip-off against Maryland, another 7-1 team. Now, they host Ohio State on Wednesday, but Derek Queen and Julian Reese average more than 30 points and 16 rebounds between them. Yeah,
great front line, both very versatile. Derek Queen, kind of think Travion Williams. Like a passer, like a rebounder, can move, can handle the basketball. Just a big-time talent for a 19-year-old. Maybe if he's 19, he might be 18. But those two guys on the front court, it's going to be really important for us to keep them off the glass, try to push them out. But it's also like he does a really good job defensively of disguising things, kind of a zone back to a man, and mixes things up. But they have a good team. Obviously, you mentioned that they're 7-1. They've done some good things here in the non-conference.
All right, we'll go to Facebook for the last question. Now, UConn had a tough holiday tournament. They lost all 3 games, and apparently Coach Hurley says he's not going to schedule one of those 3 games MTEs again. Do you think those are necessary for your postseason seeding, or can you do what you want to do there with home and home series?
Yeah, I think it just depends on what you like as a coach, and it's really outside of Maui. Everything is really going to those 2-game MTEs instead of the 3 games. I think Maui next year is the only one that's scheduled for a 3-game MTE. So there's just like we just played, a 2-game. So I think you're going to see more of that anyways, but it's just how you got to stack it. And like a lot of people don't understand, like sometimes like when you play some non-conference games and they're like a 300, like trying to get like a 200. If you're playing someone like a 225, trying to get a 175, and that's hard too, because you're gauging something while you schedule, and you have to do it beforehand. And a lot of times you're getting the scheduling done and they don't even know who's on their team. They haven't even dove into the portal yet. So it used to be a little bit different because, people, if they did get people that transferred, they all had to sit out. Now, things, it's like trading baseball cards. So you don't know from a scheduling standpoint, but, the more people that you can play that you think is going to be NCAA caliber teams, I think is very beneficial.
Well, good luck this week starting the Big Ten season. I know that State College is lovely in early December. If you're not going to get out and see the scenes, at least go walk around the hotel a little bit, get some fresh air. Good luck this week.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to talk with Katie Geralds when we come back. This is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
15 matchup inside Matthew Knight Arena. Number 9 versus number 13, and a whole lot on the line.
For the opportunity we have here to go out and play a really good team, and how we can benefit from going out and beating them. Go compete. Be who we are. Be Purdue. Be this version of Purdue. I like this version of Purdue. And you know I do. I like this version. Just be us.
No matter what happens in the beginning, we can't.
The chance for Oregon to end the set. They do. Collier is down, and Purdue is in disbelief.
I think we have to stay aggressive. When we were passive in that set, we were down. I feel like when we went for it and we went at them, that's when we caught up. So let's just keep staying aggressive.
We got to figure out, go dig deep and get something, to pull something out of ourselves and make some plays and get some balls away, or we're going to get beat.
Jacoin punctures that. Overpass, and Hudson puts it away. And they win it. Raven Colvin on the 3rd Purdue opportunity clinches the set. And Jacoin figures out a way on the setup by her middle, Lourdes Myers. Here's Jacoin for the set. And she does it for Purdue. Hudson runs into it, off the block, it's out. And Purdue will take it. Point Purdue, match over. Boilermakers in 5, 15-13.
If you don't believe after what you did coming into this gym where they hardly ever get beat by anybody and get down 2-0 and you fight back and show the heart of a champion like we did and the toughness that we did, you're not going to believe it, okay? I believe it, okay?
Boilers is presented by Indiana Kitchen Premium Pork Products. Get to know us at indianakitchen.com. Zach Edey has missed the last 7 games with an ankle injury, but he could be back tomorrow night for the Memphis Grizzlies. He's averaging about 11 points and 7 rebounds a game. Jaden Ivey having a fine season to start the year in Detroit, averaging 18.5 points and better than 4 assists per game and shooting 38% from three-point range. And Janae Terry is playing over in Kosovo. How about these numbers? Her team is 5-3. She's averaging 19.4 points, 12.6 rebounds, and 6.8 assists a game. Last night, 24 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 6 steals. So congratulations to Janae Terry. We got Katie Geralds up with us next, but first we need to pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're back.
All right, we're back at Walk-Ons, and we're joined by Purdue women's basketball coach Katie Geralds and the Boilermakers with a couple of games down in Florida. There you go. Loved by millions.
Yeah.
And let's talk first of all, before we get to the basketball, I hope you did some sightseeing down there. At least I got out to the beach a couple of times.
Excuse me. We actually didn't. The kids didn't take the bus. We had a resort all the way in Sanibel Harbor. The beach, the Fort Myer beach, I heard that it was kind of still little down from the hurricane.
Yeah.
But our hotel was nice, right on the water, had a little beach area. There was an adult pool and a kids pool, so the kids stayed at the pool a little bit. But yeah, the weather was much better than it is here.
Yes, it is. Let's talk about the tournament down there. And probably the disappointing game of the two is the Middle Tennessee game. 54-49 was the final. 5 for 22 from three-point range, and they outshot you. Had 22 attempts at the free throw line. You had 2. I mean, you flip either one of those 2 numbers, and it's probably a 5-point difference.
Yeah, that's as locked in defensively as we had been all year. Scout defense was really, really on point to hold a team that people don't know how good Middle Tennessee is. They won 30-plus games like the last 5 years or whatever. They beat Louisville in the tournament last year, but we were locked in to what we wanted to do on the defensive end. Just didn't go our way. Had our opportunities the last 4 minutes, 3 or 4 bad turnovers, bad decisions. I've got to do a better job of getting us in better spots so we can have success, but we did get some open looks. They didn't go down. We missed quite a few layups at the rim. 22-2 was pretty hard to swallow at the free throw line, but really proud of our kids on the defensive end. And if you tell me we would have held them to 54, I would have thought that we were coming away with a win.
Yep, and then you get South Carolina a couple of days later, the defending national champion, coming off a loss a couple of weeks ago against UCLA, and that's a really talented basketball team.
No, they're it was tied 10-10. I don't know, 6 minutes into the game, and there was a timeout, and Dawn just kind of lit their world up, and they turned it to another level that I don't think I've ever seen, even as a player. And we went from a tied game to, down 20. Like it just seemed like instantly. But it was funny because I was talking to Bill Fennelly, the Iowa State coach, before our game, and he said that they had played South Carolina before, and she said, "Hey," he said, Dawn met him in the hallway before the game. "Hey, Billy, it's going to be tough for you. I'm sorry already." And they Iowa State's 15 in the country, had 9 points at halftime against.
Yeah, I think they went on a 32-0 run against them.
It was and honestly, like athletically, there was nothing we could do. I mean, we took a shot and we couldn't even get back fast enough. And 30 offensive rebounds, and like our kids were fighting and trying. Really proud of what we showed in the second half. We slowed it down. We were a little bit more patient, and it's not like they took their foot off the gas either. Like we just execute a little bit better better in the second half, kept competing, and for that, it gives us a lot of confidence moving forward in what we can do. But there's a few teams in the country that I'm just not sure anybody can beat those guys.
Destiny Lombard came here with a real defensive reputation. She scores 24 in that game. I know you want her to pick up the tempo a little bit offensively, but she's doing things I think that a lot of people did not expect her to do on the offensive end.
Yeah, Des has been really solid, and I mean, she's making shots, getting to the rim at ease. We got to do a good job of putting her in ball screens and giving her more opportunities to use her athleticism and her shot making. We played around it with a little in practice, try to just get the ball in her hands a little bit more.
Maya Reynolds is starting to come on, I think, more and more. Coming off that injury, it's got to be hard when you've been sitting on almost 2 years and not just playing, but playing at the point guard position, which is the hardest position on the floor to play.
Yeah, and she's really our only true point guard. Rashunda has done it because we needed her to do it, but that's not where Rashunda is the best. So Maya, just trying to ease her back into playing a lot of minutes. I feel like we've tried to do that, and we'll try to ramp her up a little bit here, getting into Big Ten play, and hopefully sooner rather than later we get Jordy Poole back, and another player who can play the point for us. But we got a group that's staying the course and working their tails off to try to get better.
You did get a couple of players back for the holiday tournament. Elena Harper and also McKenna Layden gave you a few minutes. Gets your bench a little bit deeper.
Yeah, it's they gave us everything they had. Obviously, they hadn't practiced a whole bunch. Both smart players, understand what we want to do. In the minutes that they had, I thought they did a good job for us.
All right, talking with Katie Geralds. We'll have more here from Walk-Ons after this. This is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
From Reed. Swanson sends one up as well, and so far no one able to find the net. Doesn't need to do that when you've got the assistance of Bass in there as well. She charges forward, trying to speed things up, and Lombard, just as we mentioned, TJ gets the three going from 3T, but she's not able to get it down either. So Lady Mavs still just trying to settle into this one as Reagan Bass puts down the deep two. And the Boilermakers again showing how they want to play this game, fast on the transition. Bass gets a second go at it from the board. And although it's not quite fluid for UTA, they're still, as you mentioned earlier, only just 7 points. Now make it 9. Sleeping for days. Jones, under 5 seconds to go. Beautiful pass inside of Pure.
Purdue, like I said, just kind of keep letting them shoot as we start off the second half.
And that's a great start there by the Boilermakers. And Love will come away with the assistance of 3T. Swanson, no, that's a beautiful pickoff, and this game has suddenly sped up quite a bit. Thought about sending it out, sent it to McCarthy, she puts it up.
To come back. They're only down by 11, very much so UTROT could come back, but they just got to start feeding the people that normally get them the points, and hopefully, fortunately for them, just another offensive foul. Kind of been a problem for them all day long.
Swanson from the weak side, puts it up, puts it down. I think for Purdue fans, it'll be tough to know exactly how to feel. The Boilermakers have obviously controlled this game, but would you want to see them close it out more? They finally do so there. McCarthy doing a nice job. Jones under 7 seconds and hits a nice three. We haven't seen too many of them. That's the third for the Boilermakers. Lombard, see that speed there, able to keep that one in. The weak side out to Jones. The Boilermakers faster here. Beautiful turn from Swanson. She puts that down, and that's a really pretty play in the previous game. So nice to see her.
Welcome back to Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO. We're live at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. Purdue Athletics would like to thank and recognize members of the Black and Gold Club who support Purdue Athletics through their sponsorship at the highest level. Black and Gold Club members include Indiana Packers, Molson Coors, Purdue Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, Riley Children's Health, State Farm Insurance, Toyota, and Wabash. Each are great partners of Purdue Athletics. Again, the Boilermakers will play 2 games this week. At at home against Maine on Wednesday night. That'll be a 7 o'clock tip. And then Maryland comes in for the Big Ten opener. That's a 2 o'clock tip on Saturday afternoon. We'll talk about those teams in just a couple of minutes. Let's talk about your big players, and especially your freshmen inside. Lana McCarthy, Kendall Puryear giving you a lot of minutes at the 5. Talk about their progress so far as the season is unfolding.
Yeah, both of them just want to be great. To wake up this morning to a text message from both of them. Practices at 4. Coach, can we get in the gym at 3? Get an extra workout in. Like they just want to be great. They want to learn. We ask a lot of them and trying to get them to remember everything that we're asking them to do. But they've been solid. Obviously, Lana's been, Big Ten Freshman of the Week already. Yep. KP was really solid against Middle Tennessee, and then Lana got in foul trouble against South Carolina, had a much better second half. But physically, they can hold their own, and when the game just kind of slows down for them and they understand angles, I think they have a chance to be pretty special.
You talked about the fact, too, that both of those coming in as freshmen post players, they're able to do things together, push each other, and make each other a little bit better. There's a competition, but it's a friendly competition where they can push each other.
Oh, they do. They go at each other pretty hard. But it's so it's so rewarding because when one has success, the way the other one celebrates their success. And then today in that 3 o'clock workout, you can ask Coach Alex Guyton, but she was she was trying to guard him, and they were giving her some business.
That's good. That's good. I hope Alex came away without any black eyes or any bruises on her body. Let's talk, Jordan. You mentioned Jordy Poole. Where is she in terms of her basically her physical rehab getting back?
So got her up and down a little bit in some 5-on-0, doing a little bit more in practice. She sees the doctor on Thursday, so big day for us to figure out, with the x-ray, how the bone has healed and where we can go from there. But if all goes well, we'll try to ramp her up a little bit. Would love to get her out there before Christmas time.
We talked with Matt a little bit earlier, and they have 2 Big Ten games this week because they have to get 20 conference games in during the season. You have 1. It's always tough to get that one game squeezed in, and especially when you bring a top 10 team to Mackey Arena. But you look at the AP top 25. You got 9 teams in the top 25 in the Big Ten right now.
There's not going to be a lot of days off, if any, in the Big Ten. And obviously we got a big one with Maine. They played Indiana yesterday, so they've been here the whole time. And when Maryland comes in town, if you want to have any kind of success in the Big Ten, you got to try to do your best to win home games. And I think they're undefeated. I think they've got one more game before they come into Mackey, but we'll see if we can take care of business against Maine and give us a chance to fight on Saturday.
You got also the end of the semester coming up, and you got some freshmen that are going through this for the first time. From the mental standpoint, you got basketball is important, but so are final exams coming up. What do you do schedule-wise to try to work around that here the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so obviously this week is a normal week for us. We practice today, practice tomorrow, game, and then 2 days of prep leading into Maryland. We'll take Sunday off, come back on Monday. Let me see, my days are all confused. Maybe we take Sunday, Monday off, get them ready for finals. We'll come back on Tuesday, practice. Wednesday we'll take off, and then I'm a big believer in just 2 days before a game. I think anytime you go more than 2 days, you can get tired legs on that third day. So that's kind of the plan. With classes these days, I feel like most of our kids are going to be done with finals this week, just with the online classes. It's a lot different from when me and Kelly were back in school, and it's a little different these days. But I think we've got a good group. They do their job in the classroom, so not anything we're overly worried about.
To me, you haven't had a full Purdue experience if you haven't had lap board exams in the Elliott Hall of Music or exams in the Armory, where during the wintertime it's about 30 degrees in there. That to me really fills out the Purdue experience.
I don't know. Do they do those anymore? I can't tell. I think my first year, Tim, I was taking a Kim final in Elliott, and a young gentleman, we had a streaker, just with goggles on, came running through and all across the stage at Elliott. So that was an experience I'll never forget.
All right, yeah, and everybody's grading him as he goes across for your final exams,
it was interesting.
One question here on Facebook: you've played South Carolina and Notre Dame, and obviously those teams are at a different level right now. Not only from Purdue, from most of the country.
Yeah.
How do you keep those games and separate those games and make sure that they don't destroy your confidence going forward?
We did a lot of good things. We did a lot of positive things. So you try to watch the film and what were we trying to do? What did we have success? What didn't? What can we not duplicate again? But those two teams are on. In just my opinion, Notre Dame is a better basketball team, but I don't like South Carolina is just a freak athlete. I've never seen anything like it. 1 through 12, whoever she put in, it didn't really matter who it was. So, I think the UCLA loss kind of put some lit a fire under their tails. But we understand where we are. We're not. There's no way. There's there's a few teams in the country that we just don't match up well against. But if we can do our job and take care of business against the teams that we're supposed to take care of business, and then give ourselves a chance and keep improving. I think we have a team that can be competitive in the Big Ten. I think our group believes that they can be competitive in the Big Ten, and really, all the outside noise doesn't really matter if we can keep believing and stay the course and believe in each other and keep working. I think you'll see a team that gradually gets better over a long marathon and not a sprint.
But I think, Katie, it also serves too sometimes to remind people basketball can be a one-game season every night, because you look at that South Carolina team. I watched UCLA dismantle them.
Yeah.
And a night when UCLA would have beaten probably anybody in the country. So, everybody's got their nemesis, everybody's got their kryptonite, and hopefully you can find some kryptonite here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think we've got a team that believes in it. We've got a staff that's going to keep working to make sure it happens, and we'll just roll the ball out and just keep working to get better.
We're going to talk about the games coming up this week when we come back with Katie Geralds. It is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Johnson on the wing, tries to get it down low to base, bobbled it up. Now McCarthy in the lane, gets it to go. Purdue scores the first points of the game. Lana McCarthy pass. Up to Jones. Jones finds Swanson. Swanson, a three-pointer. That's good. Nothing but net for Sophie Swanson.
And there it is, Sophie Swanson. You were talking about her earlier.
Good poise by McCarthy to not turn it over. She's down low and an and one. We're off the inbounds pass. Anna McCarthy having her way.
Huge mismatch for McCarthy, having the 5'5" Hope Savory on her. And
Collier, Swanson in the corner, knocks it down. Sophie Swanson with a huge three-pointer. Good defensive effort down low, and Purdue comes away with it.
Reynolds back-to-back block. There's on that possession, doing a great job now pushing in transition.
Swanson was fouled and gets the friendly roll and one. 11 points.
Swanson just coming up in transition, pull-up mid-range shot.
Now Reynolds bringing it up, trying to find Bass, and she does. Bass. And one! Reagan Bass getting going here in the second quarter.
Purdue's done a great job all night in transition, and this time no different. Bass getting the feed from Reynolds.
Rebound Swanson. More chance points for Purdue. No good, Lombard. And there's just a lid on the basket right now for Purdue, but right on cue, Kendall Pullier. Finally, the drought is over for the Boilermakers.
Yeah, the offensive rebound does a great job there, and Purrier goes strong up with the body with the right hand off the glass.
It's been tough sledding here in this third quarter. Hope Savory throws it away. Lombard on the other end. Layup is up and good. Reynolds to Collier. Quick three-pointer. In and out. Bass with the offensive board. Goes up and one. Reagan Bass.
Third quarter beats Abdullah to the offensive rebound. Goes up strong. Gets hacked.
Swanson on the wing.
We're live at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. Lafayette Limo, family-owned, women-owned, serving Greater Lafayette for over 38 years. Shuttles to and from Indianapolis and O'Hare airports 365 days a year. Make your reservations now at LafayetteLimo.com. Lafayette Limo, proud sponsor of Purdue Athletics. We're joined by Katie Geralds, and we're talking Boilermaker women's basketball. Two games coming up this week. You've got the Maine Black Bears coming in Wednesday night. Actually, they're here already because they played in Bloomington yesterday. They were picked to win their conference, and then their leading scorer got injured, and she's out for the season. They're at 3-5 right now, but still a very dangerous basketball team.
Yeah, they won their league last year, obviously picked to win it. It was an 8-point game at halftime yesterday down in Bloomington, and then Indiana, kind of opened it up in the second half and made some threes. They had played 100% man-to-man and then came out and played and showed zone yesterday. So worked a little bit against the zone, trying to attack what they do because it's pretty different than a traditional 2-3 zone. And then we'll prepare them tomorrow for their man-to-man. But a team that plays at I think they're third to last in the country in pace of play. So all 30 seconds, if you get bored playing defense, you're going to get backdoored and give up an open three. So you gotta be locked in mentally on the defensive end and making sure you're grinding possessions out and then finishing them. And then I think they shoot threes on 47% of their attempts are from the three. I think they're in the top 15 in three-point attempts in the country, and compare that to us, I think we're like 17% of our shots are three. So a team that's going to let it fly, and you got to sit down in a stance and guard for 30 minutes, and a team that wants to win 50-50. So hopefully we can speed them up a little bit, but. It's very similar to our Vermont game at the end of the year last year.
I was going to mention, same conference, and so probably about the same caliber we saw. And we saw Vermont was a pretty good basketball team.
They were a good basketball team, and Maine has a lot of similar players. Don't make a lot of mistakes. They take their open shots or backdoor you for layups. They play off 2 feet and a lot of up and unders. Not a big ball club by any means, but they're going to come in here hungry, and we got to make sure we're ready to go.
Then you've got the Terrapins coming in for your Big Ten opener. That'll be Saturday at 2 o'clock. They're right now 8-0 on the season. Kayleen Smeichel is averaging almost 19 points a game and shooting 54% from three-point range. She's a transfer from Rutgers, left them early last season, but we saw the year before last, she can fill it up in a hurry.
Yeah, really quickly too. And it's not just her. They've got some other kids who can just flat out score the basketball. Obviously, Shy Sellers kind of leads that squad in what they do. And first game in the Big Ten, I'm sure Brenda will have their group ready to go. And our job obviously right now is focused on Maine, and staff has moved on to Maryland too, but like I'll turn the page at say 10:30 on Wednesday night.
Absolutely.
We'll turn the page.
Yep. A couple numbers, and I know you're always looking to get things better. Right now, your three-point percentage is 31%. I think that you have the capability. You've got better shooters on the team than that, and it's got to be really kind of a team-wide thing with the three-point shot.
Yeah, sometimes we just, I think early in the season we just haven't taken our open shots. We're trying to make extra passes, and I love that about our team and how selfless they can be. But when we do our job and we get you open, you got to be ready to shoot it. Really challenging, Ella to step up and shoot a little bit more from the perimeter. Obviously, Des has shot it really well from the perimeter, but I think as the season goes on, I think Reagan, Sophie, those things level always, or water always levels out, and I think that's going to happen.
The other number, and some of these are all turnovers are not created equal, but the turnovers that you don't like are the ones that wind up in your basket. Right now, you're at 18 a game. I know you'd like to squeeze that number down a little bit lower.
Yeah, we had 22 turnovers against Bellarmine that were just really dumb, just throwing the ball out of bounds, and some uncharacteristic turnovers. We had 15 turnovers in the first half against South Carolina, 5 in the second. So just obviously we want to play fast, but oftentimes so far this season we've just gotten in a hurry, and so Kelly clips a lot of our offense, and so really getting them to understand timing and spacing, and yes, play fast, but never in a hurry. And if we can get our group to slow down, I think we'll find ourselves shooting a better percentage from the perimeter as well.
On the plus side, you're plus in the category of rebounding, and we weren't sure what kind of rebounding team this would be. It's close, but you're at least holding your own on the boards.
Yeah, and that's after giving up 30 offensive rebounds against South Carolina. So
that's an outlier. That should be an asterisk
can we delete
with that one. Yeah.
No, I think challenged our guards to be better rebounders, and since we did, I think, our last home game, Des had quite a few defensive rebounds. But Lana and KP do a good job, and Reagan is actually a very good rebounder. So Lana, KP, Reagan have done a good job of cleaning things up. For us against Maine, long shots, long rebounds. I have a feeling our guards need to make sure they're leading us in rebounds just because of those long rebounds.
All right, let's protect the home court this week. Good luck.
Sounds great. Thanks, Tim.
All right, final segment of Purdue Basketball Live presented by GEMCO coming up on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
15 matchup inside Matthew Knight Arena. Number 9 versus number 13, and a whole lot on the line.
For the opportunity we have here to go out and play a really good team and how we can benefit from going out and beating them. Go compete. Be who we are. Be Purdue. Be this version of Purdue. I like this version of Purdue. And you know I do. I like this version. Just be us.
No matter what happens in the beginning, we finish.
The chance for Oregon to end the set. They do. Collier is down, and Purdue is in disbelief.
I think we have to stay aggressive. When we were past them in that set, we were down. I feel like when we went for it and we went at them, that's when we caught up. So let's just keep staying aggressive.
We got to figure out, go dig deep and get something, and pull something out of ourselves and make some plays and get some balls away, or we're going to get beat.
Jacoin punctures that. Overpass, and Hudson puts it away. And they win it. Raven Colvin on the third Purdue opportunity clinches the set. And Jacoin figures out a way on the setup by her middle, Lourdes Myers. Here's Jacoin for the set. And she does it for Purdue. Hudson runs into it, off the block, it's out. And Purdue will take it. Point Purdue, match over. Boilermakers in 5, 15-13.
If you don't believe after what you did coming into this gym where they hardly ever get beat by anybody and get down 2-0 and you fight back and show the heart of a champion like we did and the toughness that we did, you're not going to believe it. Okay? I believe it. Okay?
Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of Purdue Basketball Live and proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors, Boiler Up. This is Purdue Basketball Live. We have one more show in 2024 that's coming up next Monday at 6:30. Rob Blackman will be in for that one, and then we'll take a hiatus until January. Again, we will have another Purdue Football Live show. That'll be coming up after we name a new coach, and that coach is available to talk to us for an hour, so it could be next week, the week after. Whenever it is, we'll have it for you right here on the Learfield Global Network. The Boilermaker men playing 2 games this week at Penn State Thursday night, broadcast on the Learfield Network starting at 5:30 with tip at 6:30. And then on Sunday, Maryland will come to town at Mackey. That'll be a noon tip-off with the pregame show starting at 11. The women with a couple of home games taking on the Maine Black Bears. That'll be Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Our broadcast on Bob FM in Lafayette at 6:45. And then Saturday, 7th-ranked Maryland comes to town. That's a 2 o'clock tip, and we'll have that one starting at 1:45. Thanks to our engineer, Wes Scott, our producer, Hunter Stunkel, and video tonight by Corey Palm. For Matt Painter and Katie Geralds, this is Tim Newton. Thanks for joining us tonight. You've been listening to Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
On the Purdue Global Sports